wash house applies to the lean-to attached on the west side of a much larger structure, which was originally called the wood house and later the coal house,
Right.
but pertaining to the fireplaces in need of heating the house, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And the wood house, of course, was built to house the winter's supply of wood, which literally fed the 7 fireplaces in the house. And since this structure, this wood house, was a distance from the house, not right next to it,
Mm-hmm.
not a great distance, but a bit of walking. The wood then had to be carried this distance, but it was thought appropriate to have it at least that much distance on account of possible snakes or rats or whatever,
Critters in general.
That's right. Critters in general is a way to put it,
Right.
exactly. And so the wood was then carried by wheelbarrow with a strong back and arms to to propel the wheelbarrow. And we did have that old wheelbarrow in the barn at one time. I assume it's still there. I don't know, but it showed how old and primitive it was compared with the fancy new jobs that are available.
Right.
Anyway, when the fireplaces, the mantelpieces particularly, and the grates were changed from wood to coal, then the interior of this structure was changed to have large bins, B-I-N-S, to hold the coal, which was then delivered from a local company that did that business.
So they would just drive right in there and
That's right.
unload.
That's right. And in the first place, when this was built for the sake of unloading the wood quickly, they had deliberately put this wood house, later coal house, on the lower edge of a rolling hilltop there, so that the wagons in the beginning, later the trucks, could back up to this structure, open the long doors that were over the places where the wood and the coal happened to be kept, and then they could just sort of shunt off the load without too much care. Just drop it in there without too much care about stacking. And maybe that was good to keep it ventilated, and not packed too tightly.
Yeah.
Anyway, as I've already said, first for long years wood, then for long years coal. And actually, even after we changed to coal, we still kept some wood. We'd often start the fire with wood, kindling wood it was called, or even some lighter logs, and then add to the coal.
How hard was it to start a coal fire?
Well, that's why we had the wood, the light
was a little
pieces
hard.
of wood, because coal would have been impossible to start without some sort of prompter, so to speak.
Okay.
And sometimes even with the kindling, it could be an iffy sort of thing, depending on the draft up the chimney. If a high wind happened to be blowing, the chimneys then, down there now, don't have whatever modern chimneys have to control the overdraft of high winds and so on. So sometimes it wasn't all that easy, but I remember many a fire started when newspaper was rolled rather tightly, with loose ends, tight in the middle and loose on the ends, and stuffed into the grate, and then the kindling on top of that, and then some light branches or logs, and then the coal on top of that,
What a process. But once you got the coal going, it lasted.
Oh yes, the coal did hold the heat, and it lasted quite a while.